Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. What do we got today, Rick?
We got our last mock draft.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing well. How are you?
You doing, as you would say, peachy. Peachy. That's what you said to me before we jumped on the show. I called what is Zoom called you? And you said you were peachy.
I'm quite peachy. You know why?
I feel violated a little bit. Peachy.
It's week 1 of the NFL season. Or about to be.
Woo. Yeah, that's a little bit exciting.
Just a little bit.
I cannot believe 3 days away. What is it, Monday? We're recording this on Monday. Tuesday would be 2 days away when you're listening to this.
Holy cow.
If you count Thursday, if you don't count Thursday, all you got to do is wait one full Wednesday and you actually have football on a day. If you want to break it down that far.
Yeah.
But we are very close to the NFL season getting started. So we're on this episode, as stated before, we're going to do our final mock draft of the season. It'll be the last time that I personally mock draft, that I'm assuming Rick will mock draft for the rest of this year, unless you're a psychopath and you start mock drafting.
No, this is going to be it.
So this is it for us in terms of mock drafts for the regular season. This I guess would be the final iteration of what we think the ADP looks like, because, man, I have not mock drafted since last week, and things have gotten interesting, and we'll get to that when we start the mock. But we're also going to do the news. Cut down weekend was this weekend, so we'll get through all the information that you need to know for your fantasy season as fast as humanly possible. Before we do that, check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. You can like us at facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're on any of those platforms. If you're listening on or watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below who won this mock draft. Engagement helps the brand, so engage. The draft guide is also here. I think this might be the last time we say anything about the draft guide.
Yeah.
The orders are $25. It has full rankings, breakouts, busts, player draft values, player breakdowns, and so much more. If you are drafting today or tomorrow, or maybe even Thursday, maybe you're crazy and your league drafts
before the game.
right before Thursday Night Football. And you do that, you can use it for them. But I believe this is the last. This is where we're going to sign off with the draft guide advertisements for the season. Tomorrow will start, by the way, our regular season content, our regular season slate for articles and for podcasts. So 4 episodes a week is what you're going to be getting from us. Lots of content, lots of stuff coming out. Very exciting. So let's jump right into the news as the first bit of information that we have on this show. It's going to be a lot of talking by me and a lot of listening for you.
Lots of news, though. I mean, it is week 1. So.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the news. Chris Carson declared himself 100% from his fractured hip. So good news. He sounds like he's ready to go. That is very good news. I'm interested to see how the hip affects his play. But we'll see what happens. AJ Green this is just something that, a couple pieces of news that I wasn't able to add that we just saw. AJ Green is good to go for week 1, which is good news. And Matt Patricia said that if Adrian Peterson, he was asked if Adrian Peterson will be used this weekend. He said, we'll see. We have news about that later in the show, but I just wanted to get those 2 pieces of news in there so I didn't forget. The Raiders placed Tyrell Williams on injured reserve with a torn labrum.
Bryan Edwards and Henry Ruggs season.
Can I just say something? I'm so tired of hearing of Bryan Edwards.
You know what?
I saw this tweet today. I would draft Brian Edwards ahead of Henry Ruggs in ADP. I'm like,
I mean,
freaking
that's not
idiots.
crazy, but I've heard some crazy. I heard like that they would take Brian Edwards ahead of like CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I mean, he might get more opportunity than CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy.
Like in Dynasty, you would take Brian Edwards over CeeDee Lamb.
Yes, right. That's so stupid.
Like it's
categorically moronic.
Is getting out of control. Like, and I get why people like him.
Rick, I don't think you get it. People, the Brian Edwards people were out and strong before this news. They were just waiting to like make a burst onto the scene as like and make ridiculous statements. I'm like,
right.
Henry Ruggs is going to be the guy. Like that's like.
I think so too. I think Henry Ruggs is going to get more.
If anything,
not that Brian Edwards. I think is a very good player in a good situation.
Right. Like, what is he? Third round pick.
Top of the third round. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and he's got plenty of upside. But
where does he slot? Where does he play in? Does he play in the slot or is he outside? Yeah, see, this is like they drafted Henry Ruggs to be the outside receiver and to be what Brown was supposed to be. So unless
I heard John Gruden's been lining up Henry Ruggs. They love Henry Ruggs. They're going to play him in the slot. They're going to play him on the outside. Like he's the guy. He's going to be the guy. They drafted him ahead of CeeDee Lamb, ahead of Jerry Jeudy. Like they are going to use him like Antonio Brown, like you just said. Even if they like Brian Edwards, like he's not going to get, I don't think, used as much as Henry Ruggs.
Yeah. I would
That's
say
just a quick rant to our anti.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't think Brian Edwards is a bad
he's
player.
Not. He's absolutely not. It's just
I think people get excited.
Crazy.
Like the thing that I've been, we'll talk about that a little bit later pertaining to the Jaguars, but I'm so sick and tired of hearing about two particular running backs. Ian Rappaport reports that Alvin Kamara will keep working on deal with Saints. There was a report this weekend that the Saints were willing to trade him and they wanted a first round pick. And that this, I think, was after the Leonard Fournette news, so we were getting all kinds of running back news.
It was crazy.
Alvin Kamara did show up to practice the next day. Apparently, there was a meeting between him and ownership and Sean Payton and different stuff, and they're going to keep working on a deal. I believe most of it is going to be fine, but I guess what their mind is that if they can't get a deal for Kamara, they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
If he doesn't work with them a little bit. I think this is like, it was less of a, we're going to trade you and more of a bargaining chip to be like, if you don't get your butt moving on a deal, we're probably going to deal you.
I think he's going to end up resigning.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to end up happening. They need him if they want to continue being good post Breeze next year. So the Athletics, John Rodriguez, don't know if I say, I don't know. The Athletic is projecting or expecting rookie Van Jefferson to be the number 3 wide receiver. Van Jefferson going under the radar. If you are a Hard Knocks watcher, you have some sort of feelings about Van Jefferson after the last episode.
Yeah.
So he's going to be the 3rd wide receiver on the team. He jumped over the other guy whose name escapes me that everyone was buying into early.
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds. Thank you.
Yeah.
And seeing how Brandon Cooks was able to, get involved in this offense with, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, I feel like Van Jefferson's going to have a decent role. Sure. I don't think the Rams are anything special on either side of the ball at this point. So opportunity is going to be there for him.
Their strongest suit might be the passing game.
Yeah.
With Jared Goff and Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Van Jefferson as well. So, I mean, we could see maybe some big weeks for him.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think he's in the Justin Jefferson possible. A little concerned about Justin Jefferson with him being on COVID IR for the beginning of camp, but reports out of there say that he's going to be the 2nd or 3rd wide receiver. So I think these two guys are very much, and Henry Ruggs very much in the conversation for a rookie year kind of breakout, similar to A.J. Brown and Metcalf. If you want to throw him in that conversation. Who's
going to be this year's Metcalf and A.J. Brown? Right?
Yeah, right. So, speaking on Wednesday, Anthony Lynn confirmed Tyrod Taylor will be the Week 1 starter against the Bengals. Unsurprising. I've been hearing really good things out of camp for what's his name? Backup quarterback.
Justin Herbert.
Herbert. Yeah, thank you.
The man with the legend.
Very good things out of camp from him, but they want to stick with Tyrod, and he's clearly right now. With the BLM stuff going on and him having ties, obvious ties to the black community, I think that Anthony Lynn not only wants to go with Tyrod Taylor because of his leadership skills in general, but I think to cohesively unify the locker room in that sense. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that's the right way to put it.
I think it's also the right decision. I think like Justin Herbert probably they're going to do like a Denver thing where Drew Lock sat behind Joe Flacco for most of the season last year.
Right.
I could see the same thing happening this year. Tyrod Taylor might be the starter for the whole year, but
that's what they've said. He's probably
at least half the season. Like he's going to be the starter for at least a majority of the season.
Ron Rivera announced Dwayne Haskins as the Week 1 starter against the Eagles. So Haskins has the job. Alex Smith was in a competition for 4 minutes.
Made the team.
He made the team. That's all that matters. The Patriots released Mohamed Sanu in a shocking cut. Funny, Mike Reese released a 53-man roster without Mohamed Sanu on it, so I guess he's plugged in.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that.
So, Sanu's not going to be a Patriot. They're going to go young with N'Keal Harry and Jacoby Myers and Gunnar Olszewski. Is that how you say his name?
Yes.
So and then with Julian, obviously. So I'm not surprised by that. I do think that I'm curious to see where the Patriots are going offensively because they did bring in Cam.
Yeah,
Cam's never really had a good receiver core anyway. So besides when he had DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, but
wasn't it a rookie DJ Moore or like was it his second year?
I think Moore was in.
It's a very young DJ Moore though, so maybe it could be the same situation as like a N'Keal Harry.
Right. So the Bucs signed Leonard Fournette. We talked about that, I believe, on the last show. Maybe not. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, I think we did a little bit.
He signed a 1-year, $2 million contract. The Buccaneers coach said that Ronald Jones, after this day later, 24 hours later, that Ronald Jones is their guy still. So
I saw a tweet where it was like people that say Ronald Jones is going to start over Leonard Fournette, the same people that said Jared Stidham are going to start over Cam Newton.
Yeah, it's true. But this came from the horse's mouth. Bill never said Stidham was going to start over Cam Newton. He just said there's a quarterback competition.
I think Ronald Jones is going to start.
So Bruce Arians just straight up lied to everybody.
No, he didn't lie because I think Ronald Jones, like I said, he's going to start week 1.
Yeah.
And then starting in the second half or the second quarter of week 1 against the Saints, you're going to go to Leonard Fournette.
It's freaking ridiculous, dude.
I think Fournette's going to eventually they're still going to use Ronald Jones a lot, though. And you've told me like before that you think it's going to be like an RBBC.
Yeah.
I think it will to an extent. I think as the season goes on, Fournette's going to get more work, but there definitely will be games where they'll each get like 12 carries and it's going to be a disaster.
Right.
For fantasy purposes.
We will talk on tomorrow's episode more specifically about Fournette, so I don't want to spend any time on him signing with the Bucs because I think we're going to get into that in detail on tomorrow's show. But I just thought it was funny that he said Ronald Jones is our guy. I mean, he could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
None of this spells good things for Fournette, though, if we're being honest. Mike Reese said that Damian Harris could miss the team's season opener against the Dolphins, which, everyone's been buying into Harris. You had him in our home league.
I love Damian Harris.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't even know what's going on with the backfield. They also cut Lamar Miller. So at this point, I'm not really sure what the Patriots are going to do at running back. I think it's just going to be Sony if he does play. I don't know. There's been nothing on Sony lately. So
I think you don't need to roster Damian Harris right now, but just be prepared to pick him up because like in like random week, Sony Michel's going to get hurt. And Damian Harris is all of a sudden going to get like 20 carries for like 120 yards and a touchdown. You're gonna be like,
ridiculous.
But yeah, he might, especially because he's probably going to miss the opening week.
Right.
I don't know if he's necessarily worth a roster spot right now. In like a 10-team like regular league with 5 or 6 bench spots where you don't have a lot of roster availability. If you're in a deeper league, obviously he's worth the roster spot. But
right. Seahawks re-signed Josh Gordon to a 1-year, $1 million contract. I don't know if that's pending reinstatement or not, but
does he have any fantasy relevance?
Not really. I do think this might hurt a little bit DK Metcalf.
A little bit. I'm with you on that.
But outside, I don't think this hurts Lockett at all. The Boston Globe reports Patriots have officially named Cam Newton as their starting quarterback. Unsurprised. I'm surprised that it was either two things. The Patriots brought him in and he starts, or the Patriots brought him in and he gets cut. And obviously the latter, or the former, I don't know what you want to say, but obviously Cam Newton getting cut did not happen. So he's going to be the starting quarterback. Not surprising. funny thing is, Bill he got named as a team captain, but Bill still has not said, oh, Cam Newton's our starter for week 1. Cam Newton's going to start week 1. He's going to play week 1, probably the full game. And this is Bill just playing his games like every single week for Brady's entire career, where Brady's been on the injury report and they weren't sure if he was going to play that week.
So Bill didn't say. I thought Bill did say he was.
He said he didn't say outright. The Globe reported it. So they have inside sources saying Cam's the guy. Which
they asked Cam in a press conference about how does it feel to be named the starter.
It wasn't about the starter. It was about being named a captain.
I think he got both questions.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Bill's just trying to play the behind the scenes game that he always plays. You know how he is.
Yeah, we all know Cam Newton's the starter.
I would not be surprised even if Stidham went out for 1 rep to start the game. It sounds so stupid. People are going to be like, what are you talking about? But I would not be surprised if he went out for 1 pass because. That'd be
so stupid, but
it really would. Cam's the guy, and Bill knows Cam's the guy. But I would be funny if you put Hoyer or the other guy out there, Stidham, just to be like, oh, here we go, and then the entire game plan gets thrown in the garbage in 5 seconds, and then they bring Cam Newton back out. They were like, oh, frick. Washington released running back Adrian Peterson, as we referenced earlier. He signed with the Lions, and he probably will get some playing time. This is gross for the entire Lions staff. I've been staying away from this backfield all offseason.
Right. Yeah, me too. Matt Patricia did say, I think an hour ago, so pretty recently, that he plans on using Adrian Peterson in week 1. So
okay.
he's gonna get some reps. Which just is it's so gross. I do think as the year goes on, Peterson's kind of fade away. Yeah. It's just going to be carry on the Swift. But early on, it's going to be so gross.
Yeah.
That backfield.
Raekwon Armstead placed on reserve COVID list. James Robinson, Devin Ezigbo. If you really want to buy into those guys, you can.
Don't bother.
I picked up Raekwon and I dropped him 3 days later. So it's not worth it. It really isn't. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports Mitch Trubisky is expected to start week 1. A little bit surprised. I think this is it. I actually, I'm not as surprised as I thought I would be. I think this is it for Trubisky. I think they're giving him one final shot. And when he gets his opportunity, if he's able to have success with it, Foles will be the backup. If he completely flails and falls apart, then it'll be Nick Foles. I think the team's ready for either one to be the guy. And I think this is good things for Allen Robinson, to be honest with you. A lot of people would be like, oh, that's a little bit
if Trubisky's the starter versus Foles.
Yeah, and the reason why I say this is not because I think that Trubisky's good. I just think Mitchell Trubisky is a little bit off and on. He'll have a really good season and a really bad season. Last year was his bad season, so he might have a much better season this year. He's just bad. But I think that the amount of target share that Trubisky gave to Allen Robinson is clear that he has some kind of connection there. So whereas if Nick Foles comes in, there's more uncertainty there whether they're going to get him the ball or not. So
yeah, plus that is absolutely true.
And Mitch Trubisky likes to sling it too, so he's going to be throwing it all over the field. Whereas Nick Foles is a game manager; he's not going to take any risks.
Right. No, that is true. But I do remember last year watching Allen Robinson for a few games. Trubisky would throw it to him a lot, but he'd miss him so many times, overthrow him around.
Oh yeah. He did have. I liked 150 targets, so I'll take it.
Yeah, that's true. He's going to throw it to him a lot.
The Texans signed quarterback Deshaun Watson to a 4-year, $160 million extension through 2025. Good news for him. Keenan Allen also signed a 4-year extension through 2024. So that's good news for Keenan. And then the ESPN reported that free agent Devonta Freeman had a visit with the Jaguars on Saturday, but they did not come away with any kind of contract. So I think the door is going to be open for Jacksonville, but it's going to take Devonta Freeman a few weeks to figure out that he's not going to get signed for the money that he wants.
Right.
He's been holding out for the perfect situation and the perfect money, and no one wants him. It's just clear as day.
Yeah, I think the only way he's going to sign with the team is if one of the big a team's running back gets injured during the season,
right? And
they need somebody to come in right away. I think he could fill that role.
Yeah. So that's the news that we have for today. Let's jump into the mock draft, our final mock draft. Before we do, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcasting platform out there. You can also make money from your podcast with a no minimum listenership. So right away, boom, get ads on your podcast. It's everything you need to make a podcast. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go to anchor.fm to get started or download the free Anchor app. You ready for the mock draft?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm pumped. Let's get started with the final mock draft of 2020. I'm 6, Rick's 7, half PPR. We're just going to go with the basics, 13 rounds, and try to get through this as fast as possible for the late content to your fantasy season. So one thing that we've noticed, we dropped into the mock draft board, and Clyde is a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on?
How I don't know. He's flying.
We have Barkley, McCaffrey, Kamara, Elliott, and then Clyde come off the board. That's absurd. This is where I've been a little bit more concerned about Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the hype around him. I was okay with him late second, early first, but as a top 5 running back, do we really want to buy him at his ceiling? It just doesn't. To me, no. It doesn't work, So it's very concerning that Clyde has ended up being a top 5 pick at this point. There's so many other players.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the hype for him is also getting, as much as I hate to say it because I love Clyde, but the hype for him is getting out of control too.
People are losing their minds.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to take Dalvin Cook. At this point, Dalvin should have been a top 5 pick, but I guess not.
People have been concerned about the injury history with Dalvin Cook, is what I've seen recently, which I get, but I do think best player available there. Can I ask, is this PPR, half PPR, or standard? I don't know.
Half PPR. Freaking told you before the show, you clown.
Yeah, that's close between Derrick Henry and Michael Thomas, but I'm going to take Michael Thomas.
Okay, interesting.
I think he's just the best player available at that point.
I don't think we've done many strategies so far where Mike Thomas or Devontae Adams because those guys are the only first round. Those guys are the only guys you want to be spending a first round pick on. Mm-hmm. So it's not bad to take the wide receivers early, but when I was mocking for some of the leagues that I've been in, it was really hard when you got to the later rounds when you did draft a wide receiver in that first round because it was you just didn't have the running back depth. And the thing that I don't like to subscribe to a particular strategy, but I was finding myself in 80%, 90% of my leagues, unless they were dynasty startups, in drafting a running back in the first and the second round, just because having the depth at running back is way more valuable than having depth at wide receiver, to be honest with you, because everyone in your league is going to be looking for running backs. And if you're able to trade a running back, people will overpay for that. Where I found in years, it's easier to get top end wide receivers in trades than it is top end running backs, because everyone's looking for the running backs because of the position scarcity. So it's not a bad strategy to go with, but it'll be interesting to see how it turned out. After your pick, Henry, Adams, Jacobs, Chubb, Mixon, Sanders, Julio Jones, Drake, Jones, and Eckler all came off the board, and now you're left with no running backs.
So that's the problem with taking a Michael Thomas in the first round, even if he is the best player available, because now here I am in the second round. There's really no running backs. I'm not trying to reach on James Conner or Chris Carson here at all, especially when there's Tyreek Hill on the board. So I'm forced here really to take Tyreek Hill, again, as the best player available. But now my receiver duo is fantastic.
That's the other thing that I've noticed too in mocks is that all of the running backs, like Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, the guys that have been in we ranked them on our last show. but all of the second round running backs are going at the beginning of the second round, and they're not falling to that back end. So it's forcing guys like Chris Carson, James Conner into the second round, or forcing teams to take, like you in our home league took Travis Kelce at 210, I believe, just because you didn't have, or 211, I should say, because you didn't have any other options at running back or wide receiver at that point. Right. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and take James Conner, sticking with the strat. I probably should have taken our wide receiver, but I'm gonna go the opposite of whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Conner is. Everyone's talking about Anthony McFarland and everyone's talking about Benny Snell, but those two guys don't really scare me in that backfield. And I know James Conner has had injury problems. And we really haven't been talking too much about James Conner at this point, but there is a real shot that this guy, if he plays all season, could hit 275 to 300 touches. And if he does that based on the touchdown efficiency that he's shown in the past with Pittsburgh, I think Conner can be ridiculously good. But obviously the big reason why he's a late second, early third round pick is because of the touchdown upside. I know you haven't been really in on drafting James Conner really in any format. I
get the line of thinking, and I don't mind.
There's always guys that you don't talk about really that much as busts, but like you and me both, just in general, you just don't end up drafting them. Like I have Austin Eckler in no leagues, and I love Austin Eckler, but I just don't end up drafting him. And I don't know if it's a mental thing where you're like, you like that player, but you don't really like, something about them enough.
There's always just somebody else on the board though too.
Yeah,
that you'd rather have.
What were you gonna say on James Conner before I interrupted you?
Oh, I don't mind him at all. I just think second round just feels a little early for me, but I don't mind him.
Yeah. So after my pick, I had Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Carson, DeAndre Hopkins, Kenny Golladay, David Johnson, Chris Godwin, Lamar Jackson, George Kittle, and Melvin Gordon come off the board. I'm here. This is where in our home league 12 team, I got Jonathan Taylor 5'10". So
yeah,
that was almost a steal. Jonathan Taylor has been consistently going in the third round, so I'm not taking him. I'm not going to go 3 running backs. I'm probably going to take Allen Robinson here.
Really? Ahead of Thielen and Mike Evans?
Yeah. I have Thielen ranked lower than what you would think. And I don't like Evans. I think he's a bust, so.
I mean, I don't like Evans either, but like
honestly, if you look at my rankings, I have Evans at 18, and I have Adam Thielen at like 15 or 16, and I have Allen Robinson at 9 or 10. So I like the big problem, if you want me to say it, I don't think Adam Thielen is going to reach 120 plus targets this year. And obviously I've talked about how Mike Evans is going to be a bust 100 times. So I'm not even if he fell to the 4th round, I still wouldn't take Mike Evans.
Oh, so you're just pure hatred on Mike Evans.
It's not pure hatred. It's just I don't want to draft bust players. Yeah, plus, he's a mid-third round pick. He's not going to fall the 4th round, so I'm not going to play hypotheticals.
And in our home league, even in the 2nd round, so that's crazy early. But here, like in the middle of the 3rd, I don't think that's awful. But I need a running back here. I think Todd Gurley is the best one available. I know Jonathan Taylor wouldn't be bad, but as your RB1, you kind of want somebody who I think is going to be more stable than Taylor. Not that Taylor's bad or anything, but like he's got Marlon Mack there. There's weeks where Marlon Mack's going to get more carries than him. It's just he's more of a wild card to me than I think Gurley is, where Gurley's going to get like 20, 25 touches every week, just like last year on the Rams. So I'll take Gurley there. Next pick. This is tough. So after Gurley, we had Mike Evans, Adam Thielen, Calvin Ridley, Jonathan Taylor, Raheem Mostert, 3rd round. DJ Moore, Le'Veon Bell, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, and Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't love this pick, but I'm going to take Mark Ingram because, I know J.K. Dobbins is there.
Right.
But if Mark Ingram, the amount of times the Ravens run the ball, I think there's enough work for Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins.
Right.
And if Mark Ingram just gets the work he did last year, and then Dobbins gets more of like the Gus plus Justice Hill role, and maybe even a few carries from Lamar, if Lamar rushes the ball like 10, 15 less times and decides to throw it more,
right,
then there's Mark Ingram will still be, I think he was the RB10 last year. So I think it's in the 4th round as your RB2. I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. I think like the early season schedule for Baltimore is really good. So I feel like Mark Ingram I played this game with him last year, and it could work this year again. But with the early season schedule being really easy for Mark Ingram, you could ride him for the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season as your RB2 or your flex, and then trade him away after like week 3 when Dobbins starts to take over a little bit more or get more opportunity. I don't know that Dobbins is going to overtake the Gus Edwards kind of work that, we saw last year. I think he's going to take all of the Gus Edwards work, but I don't think he's going to get like 150, 200 carries or something like that. He'll probably get more passing work, but Ingram never does that. And based on what Ingram has had success with his like last 2-3 seasons, he's had 300 carries per season. So it is not unfeasible to look at Mark Ingram as a player that could actually show success this year. He's going to get all the red zone carries. Like, there's good things about Mark Ingram. There's a reason why we didn't put him on any kind of like bust list, because I don't think he's there yet, but it's not a bad pick at 4-6.
So I just want to bring something up. I think you did make this a super flex league.
Oh, did I really?
Yeah. Do you want to just like ignore that part of it? Because you can make a super flex like it doesn't have to be a quarterback.
Yeah,
and the way that
I can change it.
Oh, you can.
I think so. I don't know. I totally zoinked on that
mid draft. I mean, the way the AI's been picking, they haven't really.
They never do. The AI on this program never really does do super flex that way. But anyway,
it adjusts to many things, but not super flex.
So that makes our draft 12 rounds. Congratulations, you've won. So anyway, I think I'm gonna go Bob Woods here, just because I think when you look at Allen Robinson, I feel like Allen Robinson you can argue is kind of like a floor play with his upside, with his target share, but I think his upside is definitely a lot higher in terms of like I think his best finish is like a wide receiver 9 if he does what he did last year. But if he becomes more efficient and is actually, catches more touchdowns, gets more efficient in yards per reception, Allen Robinson could be a top 5 wide receiver, whereas Robert Woods will never be a top 5 wide receiver, but you know what you're getting out of him. Some people have said that Robert Woods can be a top 5. I just don't know that that's possible, because I feel like Cooper Kupp is the guy that would kind of take that work to do that. But anyway, I think I like the floor there. It's a good play in terms of like if Allen Robinson busts isn't good, I have Robert Woods to kind of give me the good floor to figure out wide receiver later in the season. Right. After that, I had Beckham, Brown, Chark, Metcalf, Cam Akers. Some guys going really high. Cam Akers 412. We'll talk about him tomorrow. Devin Singletary, Mark Andrews, Zach Taylor, Kareem Hunt, and Russell Wilson. A lot of guys going very early.
Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz, Kareem Hunt. Wow, dude, what the frick? Kareem Hunt is usually like at 5'11", 5'12", maybe early 6th, and he's going off the board at 5'4" here. Juju Smith-Schuster going early. Calvin Ridley wasn't a 3rd-round pick when we drafted 2 weeks ago. Cam Akers was like a 6th or 7th-round pick, so this is a little bit crazy in terms of the hype. This is when all the friggin' psychopaths start drafting the day before Labor Day today. This is the people who wait till Labor Day to get their drafts on are getting screwed right now on the ADPs. But back at my pick, I have Lockett on the board, McLaren. I think I'm going to go McLaren. For the upside. It's a good flex play. I think, 2 wide receivers with upside, and then Robert Woods giving me the floor, I think is a good strategy to start with.
Sure. No, that's a solid strategy. I'm so tempted on this pick. This is tough for me. I'm tempted to go Tyler Lockett or Keenan Allen or David Montgomery. It's one of those 3 guys for me. I'm really tempted to go Keenan Allen here. I know that's kind of interesting with Tyrod Taylor as the quarterback, and you just don't know, but he's been so consistent. And I didn't love Keenan Allen in the beginning of the year. I still don't love him, but in the middle of the 5th round, I think as my wide receiver 3, I think that's pretty good. But I think Lockett is probably the safest bet, so I'm going to go Tyler Lockett.
Okay.
Keenan Allen's close.
You're very wide receiver heavy at this point.
I am, but it is what it is. Oh, yeah. So tempted to go Kyler Murray.
You always are. Freaking clown. You do this every year.
I'm not going to draft him, though, but I would love to. But after Tyler Lockett, we had Keenan Allen, Leonard Fournette, Hollywood Brown, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Stephon Diggs, David Montgomery, Cortland Sutton, DeAndre Swift, and T.Y. Hilton. So I have a question for you. Is it crazy for me if I wanted to take Antonio Gibson over J.K. Dobbins?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been warming on Dobbins, but I think, that's a little bit
You mean
crazy.
you've been warming on Gibson?
Gibson, I'm sorry. Warming on Gibson, not Dobbins. Yeah, but I think that's a little absurd.
I'm so tempted to do it, but I won't. I'll just take J.K. Dobbins. So tempting to take Kyler Murray. So tempting to take Antonio Gibson, but I think Dobbins is probably... It's just because I have Ingram, too.
The fact that Gibson is up this high is a little bit crazy. I have my reservations on Antonio Gibson. So more recently, he was a 3rd-round pick, right? 302?
He was, yeah.
So that was a little bit surprising because I was convinced for some reason that he was a late 4th-round pick. But
he had some decent draft capital.
The fact that they used that high a draft pick on him is a little bit more.
I think he was the 6th running back off the board in the draft, in the NFL draft.
Really? That doesn't.
Yeah, I think it was only Cam Akers, Clyde, Jonathan Taylor, Swift, Dobbins. I think Antonio Gibson was the next. Oh, Zach Moss the 2nd? No, he was the 3rd round pick.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't remember Zach Moss went ahead of him. But either way, he was like in...
I saw that, and I was a little bit... It sounds like I'm completely uninformed, and I shouldn't be, but I really, for some reason, thought he was a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, and he wasn't.
I mean, yeah.
So, just because... The big thing is that everyone is now just convinced that Dobbins... I mean, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep calling him Dobbins by accident.
Gibson.
The fact that Gibson... I don't like to use this as an argument for a lot of reasons, because I think a lot of people who don't like Gibson are going out and saying, oh, he didn't get a lot of running opportunity in college. And then the Gibson truthers are like, well, that doesn't really matter. I'm like, I don't really care how much opportunity they got in college. If they were efficient with the opportunity that they got, then I think they're a good player.
Right.
So for me, I could care less how much opportunity he actually got, because I feel like you can learn that over time. Not learn opportunity. It's also not even learn. You can get more opportunity and get better over time, which is what I think Gibson's going to do. When you saw McCaffrey come in, McCaffrey didn't get a whole crap ton of rushing work to start. He got all of this receiving work, and then as the years went along, he's gotten more and more rushing work added to that. To the crescendo being him being running back 1 last year. So I think that's something you're going to see with Antonio Gibson, but he was a gadget wide receiver coming out of college. Sure. And they drafted him in the 3rd round because I think they wanted the gadget player. But with Darius Geis getting cut, with Adrian Peterson being cut, and Washington now being left with, Bryce Love, Antonio Gibson, and who else? J.D. McKissick and Peyton Barber.
Yeah.
So, they might have cut more players than that. I don't know. But Gibson coming in and playing that role at running back is rather interesting to me. It's intriguing, but I think as a 7th round selection at this point, you're putting a lot of eggs in a basket that I'm not sure is going to hold for the season. It's like he's either going to be very good or he's going to be very not.
It is a risky pick, but I've heard
9th round. Yes, please.
And the argument until he only got 30 carries in college.
Right.
I mean, he played community college beforehand. Similar to I don't know if you knew, but Cam Newton, when he was the backup for Tim Tebow at Florida.
Yeah.
He and then he had the college incident. I don't remember what happened, but he got in trouble, had to transfer. He played a full year at community college, and then he went to Auburn and had his monster year. Antonio Gibson was playing in community college, and he was a running back getting a lot of carries. He's had in high school, he got a lot of carries. Like, it's not like he's never played running back before. It's just the year in college, he didn't have a ton of carries because they were using him in multiple ways. So it's not like he's unexperienced as a running back.
Right,
so I'm not worried about that at all. What I am worried about with Antonio Gibson is, I think even with Peterson not being there, I still think it's gonna be kind of an RBBC. Like, they're gonna give somebody, whether it's Peyton Barber or J.D. McKissick or Bryce Love, they're gonna give one of those guys a decent amount of carries to go with Gibson. He's not gonna get a ton of carries right away. I think he's gonna be a very good receiving option. Like, he's gonna be their receiving running back,
right?
And then with his rushing upside, could push him into like the J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, that type of fantasy value. But yeah, no, overall, I do agree with you, though. I think the sixth round's probably a round or two too early for Gibson. But
yeah,
I get the hype.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the player.
It's not. I do like the player. The reason why I've kind of warmed on him a little bit is because he was an early third round pick in the draft, in the NFL draft,
right.
And seeing that obviously is like, okay, they'll probably utilize him. I mean, the Kareem Hunt was like 327 or something like that. Not 327, 3.27. So I feel like Gibson can have success. My big concern with Gibson is not really it is not really whether or not he can be good based on his draft capital. It's really the fact that he's in Washington. First of all, and Washington's just not good. He also has to compete with Peyton Barber, who's becoming the new Frank Gore, I guess.
I know.
Peyton Barber, and I think that's the only competition that he would really have. I don't think McKissick's going to be a problem. I don't think Bryce Love will be a problem. So I think this is the only competition, and if he does get the full work, Gibson's going to be really good. But he does fit that Christian McCaffrey mold that Ron Rivera likes to use. And if they do start utilizing him in that sense, you saw with Carolina, they were trash last year, but it didn't really matter to Christian McCaffrey because he was the main piece in that offense. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Gibson, but I think he does have a top 24, kind of floor at this point. If he does get the opportunity, if he doesn't get opportunity, he's just going to be garbage. So
he was the seventh running back. I forgot about AJ Dillon, who was also a second round pick. But he was the second pick of the third round.
Right.
So
with that being said, I'm going to take Michael Gallup. I'll go 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers. The running back, I would not have gone Ronald Jones there, obviously, because of the Leonard Fournette situation. But AJ Green, Ronald Jones, Devontae Parker, Kyler Murray, Darren Waller, Jarvis Landry, Zach Moss, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, and Antonio Gibson all came off the board. And then I'm back here at my pick at, 7-6? I'm going to take Tyler Boyd. See, this is my problem is that fourth round is usually where I went running back in a lot of drafts because there's so many wide receivers in the middle rounds that'll just keep going. In every single draft I have done with you, I have not gotten Tyler Boyd. In the real drafts, in the mock drafts, every single one you take Tyler Boyd right before I'm going to take him. It's because it's what I do. It's what I do.
I have not gotten Tyler Boyd.
I am the Tyler Boyd sniper.
The last 3 times I've had to settle for Debo, which I don't mind. I like Debo, but
try not to be in so many leagues with me this year.
Yeah, I mean even just the mock drafts too. Wow, my boy Tom Brady off the board. How sad. After I took Debo, we got Gronk, Evan Ingram, Marlon Mack, Hunter Henry, James White, Julian Edelman, CeeDee Lamb, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. A little bit of a run on quarterbacks there. I think if I had to go running back here, I would go Jordan Howard. Even though that's kind of gross. Just a little bit. So I'm going to go I think I'm going to go Marvin Jones here. But it is kind of it's kind of gross because I have a lot of receivers now, but I just think he's probably the best player available here in the 8th round. So I think you are on the clock.
All right. So after you took Marvin Jones, we have a lot of really bad running backs.
Yeah.
Or a lot of running backs who aren't going to get it. You know what I don't understand? We have not talked 1 second about Latavius Murray.
I mean,
we haven't said
a really
anything
good
about
handcuff.
him. Yeah, it's a really good handcuff in the 8th round. What a waste of a draft selection. So I think what I'm going to do here is do what I always do and draft Josh Allen.
Oh, gosh. I think if
the amount of shares of Josh Allen, the amount of shares of Josh Allen that I have in my life is ridiculous. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I think if you were going to take a running back player of the gross running backs, I probably would have taken Jordan Howard because he's the only guy on that list that's probably going to be the clear starter.
Yeah.
But it's so gross. Like Jordan Howard is so disgusting.
At my turn, you had Jordan Howard, Phillip Lindsay, Kerryon Johnson, Matt Breida, Rodgers, Michelle Murray, Deontay Johnson, who I probably would have taken here, Madison, and Hayden Hurst. But don't you fret. I have Mecole Hardman on the board. And we have 3 rounds to go. I take Mecole, and I take more. I'm probably going to take some running backs. I'll take some flyers with my last couple picks.
Okay. For me, man, this is disgusting. I'm actually going to take a flyer on Henry Ruggs.
Okay.
I think with the recent news of Tyrell Williams, I think there's a real chance that Henry Ruggs, he could also bust, but I think there's a real chance that he could have a breakout season in his rookie year.
Okay. So
I'll take him. And then I need a quarterback, so I'll take Matt Stafford gladly in the 10th round.
Yes. We have Christian Kirk. We have Darius Slayton. We have the likes of Cam Newton. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with Christian Kirk in the 10th round.
Not bad.
Once again, another player that you probably... And I said I was going to go running back, but, screw it. I'm going to take Hawk here.
Yeah, not bad. I'm actually going to take... I'm going to take Cam Newton.
Okay.
Having Cam Newton and Matt Stafford as my two
and we know he's a starter. This is the first time you've drafted Cam Newton knowing he's a starter.
Oh,
Gesicki came off the board.
I only did that just because I figured Mike Gesicki would fall back to me, but for some reason, I do got Jam. Yeah, I'll just take Johnny Smith.
And you know what I got to do? I got to take a running back here because why not? I'll take Justin Jackson. I don't even know. I'm probably going to cut him anyway.
Gross.
Yeah. I don't. I've been trying to decide too on like Justin Jackson or Josh Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's both like it's 50-50 on either choice.
Yeah. So in our draft, we did do 1 round less in this mock draft. So we only have, I think we have 5 bench players, right?
Yep.
I think the only position I feel like, so in a normal draft, it's 15.
Correct.
So kicker, defense, and then
kicker, defense.
What's the other position? There's not normally 6 bench spots, is there? I think there's 6 bench spots. Never mind.
There is, yeah.
All right, so my team is Josh Allen, Dalvin Cook, James Conner, Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, T.J. Hawkinson, Terry McLaurin. Those are the starters. Mike Gallup, Boyd, Hardman, Kirk, and Justin Jackson on my bench. Those guys
I have Matthew Stafford at quarterback, Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, Jonnu Smith, Tyler Lockett. My bench is J.K. Dobbins, Deebo Samuel, Marvin Jones, Henry Ruggs, and Cam Newton.
Sounds good. That's our draft. Final mock draft of 2020.
That's it, yeah.
Shocking. I guess that'll do it. Tomorrow, we have a lot of stuff to get to. First actual draft content, regular season content of the season.
Right. We're done with the draft content.
Trade targets. So be sure to check it out. Don't forget to check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.